Ladies and gentlemen, it is the Big Jiu-Jitsu Show, a member of the Pod Bros Podcast Network. Don't forget to go to podbros.com and find yourself a podcast you want to listen to. And you can find all of our old episodes at bjjshow.com and check out our sponsors, Trap and Roll Soap Company, as well as Tape. I'm Rob, and I have my good friend Callum from England call in, and we had a conversation about quite a few things. Talked a little bit about sewing patches on uniforms for, both BJJ and military, cutting weight, and then we actually did get into a conversation a little bit about being a transgendered athlete and using steroids. So, it was a good conversation. Had a few beers, had a few laughs, and as always, it's always good to see and talk to Callum since, he was one of my buddies I met at the most recent Globetrotters camp. And hey, don't forget to go to iTunes and give us a review, subscribe to us. The more 5-star reviews we get, the better. If you subscribe to us and you share it with your friends, the more we get to do these podcasts, more we get to talk, and, the less I have to hassle you guys for buying t-shirts and stuff at bjjshow.com. So, once again, thanks for listening, guys. I really do appreciate it, and I will see you guys after the show.
Far too long.
Far too long, man. What's funny is I'm actually heading up to London tomorrow.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Taking the missus out there to experience London since I guess I kind of cheated and had a day there when I was out there for work, but so how you been doing, man?
Yeah, not bad. Having a beer. Been busy in the gym today.
Oh, yeah. Cheers.
Cheers, buddy. Yeah, busy in the gym. Big deadlift day today, so we've got a competition in 9 weeks now. So
nice. So those of you who, obviously you just started listening because the episode just started. I got my good friend Callum with me, and he agreed to come on the show today, and I appreciate you coming on, Callum.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. If you guys remember from the round table that we did, that was actually the most successful one we've ever done. Callum was one of the one of the stars from that one.
Or a gobshite.
So since we got a little one-on-one time, Callum, how about you give everybody kind of a rundown of your jiu-jitsu journey so far?
Okay. Basically, I started off as a short, fat, 17 and a half stone at 5'6". Decided I needed to sort my life out. So I actually sold my vehicle to a guy called Ian Freeman, who's the first British fighter in the UFC from the UK. As part of selling my van to him, he offered me an extended period of free training. So he started up MMA. Obviously, being a short guy with little T-Rex arms, I was never going to be a striker. So I sort of adapted more to the ground game. Sort of fell in love with grappling from that point. Had a couple of amateur MMA fights. My first one, I was 117 kilo when I started. Had my first fight at 93 kilo. And then dropped down to 84 kilo for my second fight. Still really enjoyed it. Ended up moving from there and started training with a gym that is now a Gracie Barra gym up in Fife under a guy called Darren Clark. I was there training with work. He was the first person to give me my first stripe on my belt because I didn't really have a gym to call my own. I'm not one that followed the IBJJF grading system, let's say. They had their own grading system. It is what it is. I left there. Nobody ever leaves that gym, unfortunately, on good terms with the coach. So we'll leave that at that. And I've spent quite a long time just travelling around various different gyms throughout the northeast of England, trained in pretty much every single one of them. Finally found myself a home with a guy called Lee Kirtley, who's a purple belt under Alan Pozo, who's Team ZR, formerly Gracie Baja. Went back to his old instructor, and he's now running teams. He's the head coach for Team ZR in the UK. We've actually now just moved affiliation from Marcus Nardini to Alan Pozo. So, which is quite exciting for our team. I'm happy where I am now. Since joining Lee, I've already been given 3 stripes on my belt. So I've now got 4. So one step away from the illustrious blue belt.
The rough one.
Yeah, it's not bad after 7 years, eh? 4 stripes of white. But yeah, it's I'm enjoying it though. I've done a couple of Globetrotter camps. Got to meet fantastic people like yourselves. Take part in the last podcast, the Roundtable podcast, which was good fun. Lots of Jaeger.
Oh my god!
But the night out was quite interesting as well. After that,
I was gonna say, I think what frightens me the most was the more pictures people posted of that night out, the more I remembered of what actually happened on that night out.
I showed my wife the video of me dancing on the pole. She wasn't best impressed.
I think that's what's kind of fun and interesting about the Globetrotters experience is that maybe because it was such a, I guess, quote unquote small camp, just like a little shy of 150 people, I think it was.
Yeah.
We got to you didn't get to know everybody super close, but you at least were like, oh yeah, I saw you at the last class, or hey, we rolled at that one point, or and then going out and having that good time. Like, I couldn't think of anybody who I was like, yeah, that guy's kind of a douchebag, but everybody was fucking fantastic. I had a great time.
It was a good group. I've done 2 camps. The first camp I done, everybody was scattered around, and I think the fact everybody was staying in the same accommodation, you had six people to a room. It meant you could actually build that. That's my wife behind. Say hello, Elaine.
Hi.
Hello.
You got a chance to build that close little group with the people in your room, and then it meant everybody, because everybody was living together, everybody was then sort of forced into going with each other, like going out on having meals and going for beers and things like that. It did actually create a closer bond. So the accommodation aspect of the Globetrotters camps is I believe, a lot better than everybody being scattered around town.
No, I do agree with that. I mean, that's something that's I'm kind of looking forward to kind of figuring out, because I'm going to the Iceland camp in July. Everything's all set up for it. Yeah, it should be awesome. But it's like now we've had to find our own accommodations. But, we have a big group of people, like mainly a couple of students from my gym. Then my friend Mike Vallada, who's I think you know Mike, don't you?
I know Mike, yeah. He's a lovely guy.
Dude, he's amazing. Yeah, what's funny was he came out...
trying to get to move to the UK to be a black belt and run my academy for me. I keep saying to him, move yourself over here, get yourself over to the UK. I'll give him a massive mat space within my strength and conditioning facility, and he can start his academy there.
That would be amazing.
I think he's tempted. I think he's all just down to his wife.
Yeah, I think that's the main thing that stops all of us, right?
Yeah.
But
so mine's a good, and I can't complain about her.
That's perfect. Yeah, mine at least kind of puts up with it, I guess. She doesn't put my gis in the dryer, so that's a start.
Oh, mine. She washes my gi. If I put it in the right place, she will wash it for me, or she'll just tell me to do it myself. But yeah, she won't ever put mine in the tumble dryer. But she did show me how to sew my own patches on.
Really?
Yeah. She showed me how to use her sewing machine so I could sew them on correctly.
Oh, that's nice. That's really awesome.
Yeah.
I'm sitting over here looking like a caveman, just discovering like a thread needle for the first time. And I'm like,
you're a military man. How are you only finding this out now?
Because I'm a shitty military man. That's the... We just drop it off with people and let them sew it on for us.
Oh, no. We had to do all ours ourselves, and then we were absolutely bollocks on parade if it wasn't up to standard.
Oh, shit.
So all our name badges, everything, we had to sew on ourselves. And if it looked like a bag of shit, we were made to pay the price for it.
Fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah, with us, they're kind of like, oh, congratulations, you got promoted or you moved to a new unit or whatever. They're like, hey, take it to the sew shop and they'll hook you up. I mean, granted, we had to pay money for it, but they still give it like a day turnaround.
Oh, well, yeah, it was extortionate if we wanted to do it. So obviously being tight, we didn't want to. So we'd obviously try and risk it ourselves. And after 2 or 3 attempts of being beasted and marched off the parade square, I mean, absolutely beasted, you sort of go, all right, then I'll go spend this money. But if you think of it, right, you take one badge in to get sewn on his shirt.
Yeah.
That's the price of 2 or 3 pints on an evening, which you don't want to concede.
I mean, I can see that. I definitely understand that. That's 2 or 3 beers I could not drink, or I could just attempt it myself and see how it goes.
Exactly. So what you normally do is you normally drink those 2 or 3 beers while badly sewing it on, and hope it's good enough for your parade inspection.
What's funny is you can definitely tell. Like, I have a competition gi. It's an Origin, and you can definitely tell which patch I sewed on, because it's the only one that didn't stay on.
Yeah.
It was my Drink Fanta patch that my friend Sean gave to me. I was like, yeah, I need this on this one. So I remember sitting there trying to sew it on, and my wife did the whole like, yeah, it looks really good. You did so good. You're very talented. And was it the first roll I did with it, like the patch is like half hanging off now because like all the threads snapped on it because it wasn't close. Or yeah, sewing is not my forte, man, at all.
See, I was quite lucky. My wife, like I say, she's very good. When I gave her the patch, and it was the big Innovation MMA team patch, so it was the big focal point on my new Hard Life Fightwear gi. So it's a really nice patch going on a really nice gi, and I didn't want to fuck it up. So I had a chat with the wife, and she actually got the pins out and marked it all perfectly for me. So I couldn't fuck it up. All I had to do was put it in the right position and press the button and just move the material. Wow. So she done the bulk of it for me. So it was to a point where even I couldn't fuck it up. But I gave it my best shot, but I managed to not.
That's pretty amazing. I have to ask my wife to show me how to use a sewing machine so I can at least stop bugging her, because I know I still got got a few patches I still got to put on and at least not look like an asshole and not have them on.
Yeah. Well, I've got my my travel gi, and that's just covered in loads of different patches. Not quite Alexander Nafang's level, but it's getting there. But I keep getting new patches all the time. So, but I like my geeky patches, so I keep trying to have a look, and if I can find a nice geeky patch, it goes on.
Absolutely. Did you see Alex is going to be fighting Rodolfo Vieira in MMA?
I saw that. Yes, I'm actually quite a big fan of ACB as well. I've got a few guys that I know. There's Alex Fisher, who's a lad from the northeast. He fights on ACB, and he's doing very well. He's actually, I believe, according to MMA UK rankings, he's the #1 lightweight in the country, and fights in ACB. So yeah, ACB are a good promotion. They're building a massive reputation, and it'd be interesting to see how Rodolfo actually handles his eccentric style. Let's say.
I was actually a little pissed off. I mean, it's already bad enough we have some bad BJJ journalism out there, but it was like Rodolfo Vieira fights eccentric Serbian German guy. I'm like, can you at least give the guy a little information? He's a fucking black belt and he's good. So
he's even when he was a brown belt, as lads like Jay Bell said, he's a brown belt that scares black belts.
Yeah.
He was a brown belt in name only. He was a black belt for years.
Yeah, and that,
just haven't given it.
That's what kind of like pissed me off when I read that article. It was like, and it had no mention of Alex in it whatsoever. It was like Rodolfo Vieira, blah 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 blah, and he's fighting this guy.
Rodolfo was supposed to have been fighting somebody else, but the guy pulled out. So Alex has sort of stepped in as a bit of a replacement. So the main focus of it was Rodolfo, and I think Alex may shock quite a few people with how he is. I'm just interested to see what he wears as he walks down to the cage.
I mean, when he fought MMA, it was actually kind of tasteful, like what he wore. But it was, I'm pretty excited to see him get out there on the world stage like that. That's a hell of a way to get back out there, because I know he hasn't fought MMA in a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, I've given up the MMA thing myself, though, to be honest.
I think
That's why I took up strongman. It was a lot easier than being punched in the face.
I was gonna say one and done for me, man. Unless it's something. No, I'm not like gonna be like Conor McGregor. I'm like, oh, I need $10 million. No, like unless it's something crazy, maybe. But other than that, man, I'm kind of done with it too.
Yeah. There's a lot of egos about them, and a lot of it is still old school. They're very, very old school. Unfortunately, there's been a death in the UK MMA industry. Carl Tinsley, and he's the guy regarded as an absolute legend in the UK. A former training partner at a strength and conditioning facility, a guy called David Grant, who's a UFC fighter, and other guys I've trained with, Alex Edmonds, are actually trained under. It was my oldest son. They trained under Carl at SBG UK, and they're all absolutely devastated about it. Quite rightly, he was a lovely, lovely guy from what I can get. I never had the chance to meet the guy, unfortunately. But yeah, the whole MMA community in the UK massively mourning his passing. It's a very, very sad event.
Yeah, I mean, for a death to occur in MMA is like it's a really rare thing. On top of that, and it is pretty devastating that somebody actually lost their life to it. And I mean, I hate to say it was bound to happen, but it's terrible that it fucking did.
Well, it was cancer that killed him.
Yeah.
In the end, he was one of the top coaches. He run SBG UK, which is the UK arm of the same team that hosts Conor McGregor over in Ireland.
Yeah, yeah.
He was the head trainer over there. And, by all accounts, he'd been fighting cancer for a while, quietly, and then passed away.
Wait, so this wasn't the guy who lost his life in the ring?
No.
Oh, shit! I am so sorry.
Yeah, no. This was the head coach of SBG UK, a guy called Carl Tinsley. He's an absolute legend of UK MMA. He's trained some of the top UK fighters as well.
Damn.
Yeah, so we've had a bad time of it.
Yeah, I bet, man. Oh shit! I feel like a fucking asshole now. I thought it was that guy who there was a guy who passed away in fighting MMA out there, wasn't there?
Yeah, we've had a few. We've had a few. There was a young lad who I think it was about 6-8 months ago now, who had a really, really bad weight cut. Stupidly tried to cut like a professional fighter while fighting amateur rules on same day weigh-in. Cut a load of weight, hadn't rehydrated himself correctly, and there was no way he could in the time frame he had. I think he weighed in something like 4 hours before his fight, and he cut something like 5 or 6 kilos.
Holy shit!
Ridiculous, yeah. And he just passed out in the cage.
It's awful, man.
So, you get stuff like that all the time, and really, it's the blame obviously is on the lad, but the coach has to take a portion of responsibility as well. I had one of my fighters was fighting on Celtic Gladiators down in London, and he was scheduled to fight under 110 kilo, I think it was, under 120 kilo. So he walked into me mid 130s. I went, yeah, fine, we'll do that, but I didn't want him to cut weight because he was a big, strong lad anyway. He didn't need to cut the weight. So what we done was we gradually brought his weight down throughout the course of his fight camp. Hit his weight, bang on. I was weighing him every Monday morning. So I knew exactly where he was. If I thought he was losing weight too quickly, I was upping his calories. If I thought he wasn't losing enough, I was cutting him ever so slightly. So, and we monitored his weight all the way through. 5 days before the weigh-in, he was bang on weight, 120 kilo. Exactly how it should be. All this crazy weight cutting is absolutely pointless. All you do is you're actually depleting your strength and things like that. Like, they've done various research on it, and there's no real benefit to being bigger or on a day because you won't be stronger and you'll gas quicker. They've actually worked out. I think they said that you would be a minimum of 20% weaker through weight cutting. It was something crazy like that. Joe Rogan, I believe, actually covered it on his podcast a while ago. So I said, right, fine, we'll do that. And then, unfortunately, a week out from his fight, his opponent pulled out, and he was offered another one 5 kilos lighter.
Shit.
So yeah. So he, being a very good client, the first thing he done was he contacted me first, asked me the question. I asked him to jump on the scales. He was already 118 kilos, so he was 2 kilo on the weight. So I went, oh yeah, well that's fine. We could drop 3 kilo without affecting him too much, and he weighed him banging on the day 115, and then he fought the following day. So ended up having to cut 3 kilos in a week, which was easy.
Yeah.
Too many people embark on water cutting for the wrong reasons when they shouldn't be doing it, and they don't know what the fuck they are doing, and all they're going to end up doing is killing themselves or seriously damaging themselves.
Yeah, we had so back when I was in Arizona, my coach fought I don't know if you're familiar with Joe Camacho. He used to fight in Bellator. Joe did a really drastic weight cut before the SJJIF Worlds. Competed Saturday and Sunday, and then that night had a really bad heart attack because he had cut so much weight that like he had like barely any body fat in him still left. So he just went into a cardiac arrest and died. But like that's the thing. It wasn't a smart long cut. It was a very short cut for him to get down to that weight to compete.
See what I done, because I deal with athletes with my facility. I actually deal with athletes on a daily basis who need to lose weight for fights. I actually tested myself to see what can be done and how I felt, so then I would know how my clients feel. Now, no one should ever push anyone towards doing weight cutting unless you've done it yourself.
Yep.
I managed to drop 9 kilos in a week, and fuck me, did I feel like shit.
Yeah.
And I'd done it before a strongman competition as well, and I performed like an absolute dick. I was shit. I finished bang last in a competition. I should have been at least mid-table. There were some strong guys in there, no doubt. I should not have finished bottom. I finished second bottom because one guy pulled out after 2 events injured. So, but yeah,
hey, so you weren't dead last, right?
Exactly. Yeah, I'll take that a little bit. No, I finished right at the bottom of those that actually finished the competition after dropping 9 kilos in a week. 9 kilos in a week. It can be done, but it's fucking horrible, and I would never ever recommend it. And I would never ever push any of my clients to do anything that drastic. I know how I felt as I was dropping the weight, and I know what I would feel comfortable pushing my clients towards.
Yeah, I was gonna say the last time I've ever seriously dropped weight was or cut weight was about 3 years ago, actually, almost to the day. Not to the day, like to the week. And I remember I dropped in a span of 3 weeks, I guess maybe like 14 kilos. So I was hating life, and I remember trying to get the last little bit off. And what I was doing was I was doing the Epsom salt bath, and I remember my wife came home, and the way you guys, if for our listeners who don't know how to do that, pretty much what you're doing is you're submerging yourself minus your face in a hot Epsom salt bath, and you're staying in there for 10 minutes because what's trying to do is like create a humid, hot environment to make you sweat. So I was getting out, my heart was racing, I was like sweating profusely, and I would get out every 10 minutes, towel myself off, put myself on the scale, see how much I lost, walked into my bedroom, and then like had an oscillating fan just blowing on me. So my wife came home from work. I'm sitting there in my underwear, like hands behind my head, like I'm on the beach, knees up, just this fan going like up and down me. And she walks in, she goes, "What the fuck are you doing?" I said, "Baby, I'm cutting weight. Don't worry about it." And she's like this? I'm like, "Yeah, I'm cooling off." And I mean, like, I'm wearing my, like, just these weird, like, they're purple underwear with, like, bananas all over them. So, I mean, it's just, if you could just imagine me just laying there like this, hands behind my head, just getting cooled off. But I think what made, like, that part wasn't the worst part. I think what the worst part was was when I hit what I needed to do and then rehydrating. I remember getting Gatorade and eating an apple, and I had just like instant diarrhea.
Also, the apple is one of the worst things to have when you're rehydrating, just because of the acid content in it. But Gatorade is good if you sip it.
Yeah.
When I cut that 9 kilo, I actually bought six bottles of Gatorade, and over 24 hours I sipped them, and then in between, after a bottle of them, I then sipped a bottle of water, and then I just carried on alternating. Because what you need to do, you need to make sure you get your electrolytes back into your body, because let's face it, over that last week, you've cut out most sodium.
Yeah.
Because basically, to do a proper water cut, what you should do is consume a high amount of water on day one. Over a 7-day period, you start off with approximately, depending on your body type and all that, you start off about 5 litres of water. That puts your body into a flushing mode. And then you gradually decrease the water volume until over 24 hours, just over 24 hours away from your actual weigh-in, you stop the water completely. 3 days out, you drop all sodium and all carbohydrates out of your diet, because carbohydrate, for each gram of carbohydrate, you store 4 grams of water. And sodium is just as bad for storing water. You drop all that out your system, and then you carry on with your Epsom salt baths, saunas. I actually had a sweatsuit, and I used to just put my sweatsuit on, and so I didn't deplete all my glycogen stores for me strength. I used to just go on the treadmill or walk on the treadmill while watching like The Big Bang Theory or some shit like that.
Oh, God. You think the weight cut's hard enough? Fuck, man, doing that with The Big Bang Theory?
I don't know. Penny makes it worthwhile.
All right.
No, I like to think I'm intelligent because I get the jokes.
Yeah. No, it's perfect. And I mean, how did that work out for you? I mean, fairly easy. Like, did you find yourself hitting a wall, or like what happened?
No, it was comfortable. I lost the weight relatively easily. I hated life itself. My wife just completely blanked me, and my children would keep a wide berth of me for the last few days. I was ratty as fuck. Snap at anyone and anything. So yeah, I wasn't in a good place mentally. Physically, I wasn't in a good place. You're pissing syrup by the end of it, which isn't nice. When you go into that sort of extremes, like your urine gets really, really dark, and it gets to a point when you are starting to tread towards kidney disease and things like that. So I would never do the extreme of what I'd done before. I'd done it just so I could see what I could push myself to. I did have a competition to make. I did walk off of my one of my all rigs that I work on at 99 kilo, and I was competing at 90 kilo. And I woke up the morning of the competition at 90.2 kilo. I jumped on the treadmill in my sweatsuit, watched an episode of Big Bang Theory, got off, dried myself off, stood on the scales, 89.9 kilo.
Perfect.
So as perfect as you can get, yeah. And then I weighed it when I got to the bloody event, though, which fucking pissed me off, actually. I got to the event. He had a set of scales which he put on wet mud. I stood on it, and I only registered at 80 kilo because the scales sunk into the mud a bit.
Oh, what the fuck?
I just looked at him and went, are you fucking kidding me? So, and he actually allowed somebody to compete who weighed in 90.5 kilos, so fuck knows what he actually weighed.
Jesus. Yeah, he probably, I promise you, he was not probably 90.5 kilos.
He was 100 kilo plus, unfortunately, on the day, yeah. So, yeah, I was a bit fucking pissed off with that.
Hey guys, before we get back to this conversation, I want to talk to you real quick. You know, yesterday was Valentine's Day. And what are some of the things that happen on Valentine's Day? You spend about $100 on gifts. I don't know, maybe put a tie on, you maybe get dressed up a little bit. You want to give yourself, give a good impression to the person you love. You want to let them know that they are loved. And one of the last things you want to worry about is not having a condom on you. So, well, I know one of the things you like, if you're like me, you ran around the day before. You're like, shit, what do I need? Let me get some candy. Let me get a card. Hopefully before that, you got a well thought out gift because you're not a scumbag. And the last thing on your mind is like, well, if something goes a little further than, holding hands, maybe even a little kissing, you don't want to be unprepared. So there's a product out there now called Be a Dandy. It's beadandy.com. And what they do, it is a subscription service, condoms to your door. So you don't have to worry about, having to run out to the store. They're always there. You don't have to worry about it. And what's cool is they're giving a special promotion for our listeners. So you go to beadandy.com/podcast. That's PODCAST. And you'll get 50% off of your starter pack. That's $3 for your first order, which includes 6 condoms. And then it goes to $6 a month. So don't find yourself, out of luck because you're like, oh, fuck, I didn't buy condoms. Always be prepared. Beadandy.com/podcast. That's PODCAST. And get 50% off your first order. I was gonna say on the opposite end of that, I remember I did a tournament in Virginia and I registered as an ultra heavyweight. Ultra heavyweight is probably for the American listeners, 220 pounds and above, and what is it for everybody else? Yeah, everybody else who uses the same form of measurement, 99 kilos and above, I think it is.
Yeah.
So I get in there. And I have like my backpack on. I'm carrying like this cooler. I've got all my clothes on. Like I'm carrying like all this shit because I'm helping with the team. And I'm like, hey, I'm Rob. I'm here. I'm blue belt, ultra heavyweight. And they go, okay, cool. I'm like, do I really need to weigh in? And she says, nah, you're good. Don't worry about it. Like, you're ultra heavyweight. Like, you don't need to make weight for that. I'm like,
yeah,
easy enough. So I walk over. And I have my little slip, and I carry all of it. And this lady, one of the registration ladies, she goes, have you weighed in yet? I said, no. I asked the ladies, and they said I didn't need to. And I was like, I guess that makes sense because I don't have a weight I need to make. She says, no, I need you to weigh in right now or else I'm not going to let you compete. I'm like, what the fuck? Oh, all right, then I'm going to weigh in completely. So I have my backpack on. I have, like, the cooler of all my, like, I'm weighed down. I stepped on the scale with everything. I was like 285 pounds, like with all my shit. And so I'm like, put that weight down. And then so she wrote it down. And eventually, like, all the things go through, and I'm standing there in the absolute division. And I'll never forget, this guy came up to me, and this is the same thing with like the weight, like you never know or whatever. He goes, hey man, have you seen this guy named Rob? I'm like, why? He goes, this fucker's 285 pounds. Like, this guy has to be massive. I was like, no, man, that's me. He said, what? I said, yeah, the lady wouldn't let me she made me weigh in, so I weighed in with all my shit. So this guy, who was like, holy shit, I thought I was going to have to fight like some sumo wrestler or some shit like that, but that was a good one.
In all fairness, I have actually gone up against a guy who was about 140 kilos. So probably about 280 pounds. That was actually at my first ever camp. He's a blue belt under Ellis Younger. He's a lovely, lovely guy as well. Do you remember the big Icelandic guy?
Oh, how can I forget? I thought he was going to rip my legs off.
Yeah, he was bigger than him.
Bullshit.
Seriously, but he was a white belt when I met him. Oh. And when we went to the camp, they would see him and see me, and it was weird that we never ever were on the mats at the same time. Yeah. Like, I was either absolutely shattered, we were never available at the same time. And I think it was about 4 days into the camp when like the stars aligned and me and him were both available at the same time. And he come tapped me on the shoulder and said, do you fancy a roll? Everybody had been waiting for this moment. And I never realised everybody had been waiting for this moment. Everybody had been waiting for this moment. So at the camp, there was like the main mat area, and there was a second room next to it. It was like a smaller matted area, but it had like a big glass window. So you had like a half wall and a glass window.
Yeah.
We went into there because there was very few people in there. when we went in, everybody got up and left. And we just went at it. This guy, I was about 95 kilo, but competing in strongman, so physically strong. I was the second biggest guy at that camp as well, like size and weight wise. He was the biggest guy by far, and we just went at it, and it really was a rock and a hard place. And about halfway through the roll, I just stopped for a second, looked up, and got his attention. Went, here, have a look at that. And we looked up, and everybody was peering through the glass, wondering what was going on this roll. So you had black belts and that were peering through this glass, like, come on, they're actually going through it. And we carried on. After about 25 minutes, we were both spent. We were just both laying there like we just had a good sex session, just panted away, just physically spent. We had a nice cuddle and went and sat back down, both sweating profusely.
Yeah.
But I think that they need to create new weight categories and be a bit serious with this, because there's a massive difference. Like, you've got all these weight categories where there's about 3 or 4, 5, 6 kilo difference for all the smaller guys. So you've got you even from ultra heavy to your heavy down to your light heavyweight. You got all these. They're very, very close together. And then they think as soon as you hit 99 kilo and you're a fat fuck, you should be able to wrestle against someone who's 150 kilo. So why stop at 99 kilo? Do they think that people from 99 kilo and above, they don't give a shit about them? They can just go against each other and crush each other because they're the big guys in the gym that nobody wants to roll with?
Yeah.
Or worried that there's not enough people in those weight categories, because let's face it, BJJ in some people's eyes is a sport for little nimble people.
Well, yes, I agree with it at some point, but like coming from wrestling, it was kind of the same thing where they're like, hey, you weigh over 250 pounds, tough shit. You wrestle whoever there is. Like, the pool isn't is exactly as big as like some of the smaller weight divisions, but like, I would say I've been in tournaments where I've been like one of the smaller guys for the ultra heavyweight. The guy I faced in the finals of one of them, I remember he weighed in at like 311 pounds, and oh yeah, he fucked me. He didn't beat me. I beat him.
Was he Japanese and wore a nappy?
It felt like it. I took his back, and I couldn't get my legs around.
How did you take his back? How did you get your legs around?
I didn't. That's the problem. I took his back. He's a really cool dude. I took his back. I couldn't get any hooks in because of his girth. I was just like, holy shit, how do I get my legs in? Slid around him kind of like some like cartoon. So I'm on his back, slide all the way around onto his stomach, and then he just drops. So I've got this giant motherfucker in my guard, and I submit him finally, and then I remember waking up the next day just like I couldn't get out of bed. I was like, holy fuck, because this dude like fell on me. I mean, like I said, he's a great guy, but 311-pound dude falls on you in guard. Like, something's hurting. So I remember I was like...
See, that could also be classed as a slam, though, surely.
It could have...
Let's face it, a 311-pound guy falling on top of someone is a lot worse than two guys that are in 155-pound category and one just sort of slams someone accidentally. And, like, their ruling on slam is pretty fucking pathetic, really. Mm-hmm. Like, I can understand if someone absolutely fucking powerbombs somebody as a disqualification, but when you pick somebody up and, okay, you're not supposed to, but you're trying to shake them off and you drop down onto them and they give you a disqualification for that, it's like there needs to be a bit of common sense on that as well, surely.
I truly do think there should be as well. I mean, there are some instances, so like a good example. If somebody does a really good double leg takedown, it can be construed as a slam. Like, I've seen some refs call it as like, hey, that was a slam, that's enough. Whereas all the person did was shoot the double leg, cut the corner, and drive him to the side where it's a quote-unquote slam. But some of them, like you said, where somebody has somebody in a triangle and they rampage them, where they just stand up and slam on the ground, that's absolutely a slam.
Yeah.
But, no, it does need to be common sense. And I think, like, something that goes back to the whole, issue with sports jiu-jitsu and whatnot is now that I guess maybe it's more beneficial for some people to pull guard than it is to actually take them down when takedowns actually do happen. Like, I think sometimes some of those really powerful takedowns can be misconstrued as a slam.
That's why you need to throw your judo into it and get a nice fucking Tabio Nagi or something like that. Yeah. Just send that fucker flying across the floor like I did.
Like, I work on my judo. I can't just power bomb people, you know?
Well, the last competition I was at, there was a lad, he was a judo guy. Yeah. And I was talking to my coach, Lee, and I mentioned one of my favourite throws was a Tamio Nagi.
Yeah.
And he just laughed and went, why don't you try and get it in at some point today? And the guy I was going against was a judo guy, so should never have been in the white belt category.
Yeah.
In my, so within 30 seconds of us starting, he was flat on his back after flying through the air from a Tamio Nagi from me, and even his coach turned around to me after and went, "Fucking well played there."
Nice.
It's a thing of beauty. I did send it to the Facebook group. I love takedowns, but they never shared it, the fuckers. So I'm boycotting them now.
Yeah, fuck those guys.
Yeah.
Do you really love takedowns if you're not going to put that one on the page?
Exactly. It was a perfect white belt on white belt. Tamio Nagi. The guy went flying, and then I ended up on mount from it. So
beautiful.
It was about as textbook as you can get, and I actually showed that I could actually be agile for a fat guy.
Now, you move pretty quick for a big guy. I'm not going to lie.
I try. I've always been told that if you can find a heavyweight who moves like a lightweight, that guy can be pretty dangerous. So it's something I've tried to work on. Unfortunately, when I try and move like a lightweight, I tend to gas out quite quickly. Because strongmen don't do cardio.
Well, I was going to say, like, how do you find doing your strongman competitions with jiu-jitsu?
I actually find it helps my shoulder mobility, because nothing like when I'm pressing, when I'm doing log press and things like that, with all the overhead work I do, and with all the heavy work I do, like heavy deadlifts, squats, things like that, my muscles get very, very tight. So there's nothing better than after with really, really tight muscles, getting free physiotherapy from your mates in your gym. So they go and put a nice shoulder lock on you. You're like, yeah, I'm about to tap. Just ease it off a bit for a second. Okay, put it back on. Yeah, nice one. Cheers. And then, can you do the other side for me? They look at me like I'm a fucking weirdo. But yeah, I do that all the time with them. So, and to be honest, they're a great team over at Innovation as well. Let's fake. Going back to that, going back to my history, I've trained with a lot of very, very good guys in the Northeast, some very, very high-ranking guys, a lot of black belts as well. But I chose a team run by a purple belt who is not a purple belt. He's not a purple belt. He's no more a purple belt than Alex was a brown belt.
That makes sense. I understand that.
But it was the whole team, the philosophy of it as well. I really like that team. They're a great bunch of guys. They never met me before. All they saw was this fat guy come in who was just very, very strong. They've all seen me get graded from a 1-stripe white belt up to a 4-stripe white belt. And they've not gone, how the hell is this guy getting promoted so quickly? They've all sort of accepted me into a team, and that's what I wanted. I was really nervous about joining the team after leaving my MMA place that I was at. Yeah, I'm very good, very glad I've got the gym I've got now with Innovation.
I was going to say, environment for training is such a big thing when it comes. I know, yeah. So like, you can go to gyms where I've been to gyms and I'm like, this black belt's a fucking asshole. Like, I want nothing to, I want nothing to do with this guy. This guy's a complete...
Well, the black belts in the Northeast I've trained with aren't arseholes. Yeah, you got Dale Percival, who runs. He actually runs the MMA show Made for the Cage. Mm-hmm. But he also does a grappling show called Grapple for Glory, which is quite good. If you ever fancy coming over to the UK, and he's always looking for purple belt matches as well.
Oh shit!
Yeah, Yeah, I keep, because I'm making contact with all these black belts and brown belts and all that from all over the world. I keep in contact with them because every now and again he looks for matching guys at certain weights, and I try and get them to accept it. And then while they're over, I'll try and throw them into a seminar in one or two places.
Well, hey,
So,
keep me in mind, man.
oh, definitely. Yeah, but Dale's a lovely guy. His team's good, but they're just a little too far away from me.
Yeah.
And then you've got Pete Irvin, who runs his own MMA and jiu-jitsu facility. He's a black belt under Crezio De Souza, who's a coral belt. And Crezio, he's absolutely fantastic. I've done a few one-to-one private sessions with him as well. And to be able to train with someone who's a coral belt is out of this world, unreal. But the guy he's obviously he's aging. He's been training that long. But yeah, he's forgot more about jiu-jitsu than I'll ever learn. And you can tell the quality of the guy when you're rolling with him. And he don't put any effort in. The top guys, it's just effortless, and they just tie you in knots if they want to.
I mean, that's kind of the crazy thing about some of these coral belts too, man. It's just like, everybody talks about doing jiu-jitsu for the long term, and I truly try to think about that because, I'm not going to be a good-looking young man like I am right now, and
You're a handsome man.
Oh God, go on. No, but you know what I'm saying. Like, and it's something I tell my guys too. Like, my main goal is I want to be able to walk out of somewhere, not get carried out of somewhere because I can't do it anymore.
Yeah.
And the detail that some of these coral belts have is just unheard of. Like Helson, it's not a matter for Helson. When I watched him do something, it wasn't a matter of like inches. It was a matter of like millimeters at that point.
Mm.
Like, that's how good the technique is. That's how much detail there is in it. It's like, oh, if this is off by this much, like even just a little bit, it's not going to work. But then when he does it, it feels like, somebody rolled a car over your neck. Like, you're not going anywhere. It's good. You're done. You're going to get choked out.
Yeah.
So that experience is just amazing.
But, oh, it is. And every time he comes over to the UK every year, so he can grade Pete Irvin's students for him. So I massively respect that about Pete Irvin as well. Is that he invites his instructor over and holds a series of seminars with him, allows him to earn money through one-to-one sessions with some of his students and people like myself who I'm not one of Pete's students, and yet he allows me to go up and have one-to-one sessions with his instructor, and then he shows the massive amount of respect to the guy that, let's face it, he's earned over the years, and allows him to grade his students. And I like that. I like the whole lineage thing. I like that about Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. It's almost clean, if you know what I mean. It's not quite being watered down by all this dojo shit that's going about, and there's too much of it already, but it's not being watered down by it. There's a lot of people who still follow the what is this person's lineage? Have they followed a true path in jiu-jitsu, or have they just been given it by somebody who's just given it away just for money or whatever? Like, I'm not a massive fan of the Gracie University. Yeah. To me, that's an absolute fucking joke and a bit of a travesty towards Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I could go online on the Gracie University. I'll be a blue belt very, very quickly because I've been training long enough, and I'll just do a few techniques, video them, and turn up on one of their training days. I'll be a blue belt very quickly, and very quickly after I'll be a purple belt. But I'd still get tied in knots by any purple belt out there.
Yeah, something that was interesting about that was I had a conversation with somebody, and they're like, well, the test is really, really, tough to be a blue belt in the system. And then I rolled with them, and I was like, I don't know, man. Like, I've met some really tough dudes. I've met some really like some white belts who have definitely been a white belt for way too long. And I know the ultimate goal, and I tell this to my students, the ultimate goal of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is that you need to be able to control a person who is untrained trying to hurt you. Like, no matter what. Like, competition's great. Showing off cool moves on Instagram is great. But the ultimate goal is for making sure somebody doesn't fuck you up. Like, that's really what it's about. And there's something to be said about a system that doesn't let you live spar. You get promoted on merit, and it just doesn't work out. Like, that's why I'm kind of very hesitant about some training programs where they're all about you doing stuff on your own, and then you get like a maybe once a year like seminar with whatever leader or instructor there is with it. So like, I know Gracie University was one thing. I know there's like a Muay Thai one that Dwayne Ludwig does, and it kind of just puts me off. Like, that's the thing. I could do what I think is a armbar correctly. I can do it over and over and over again. I'm like, yeah, that's a fucking great armbar because it looks exactly like it does in the video. Yeah. Nobody is looking at me telling me that it is wrong. So when instinct kicks in, I do this shitty looking armbar, and it gets me all fucked up because I didn't do it correctly, and my training partner or my grappling dummy doesn't tell me otherwise. Like you said, that's kind of where it falls apart. You don't have that response. You don't have that live rolling where it's like, no, dude, that doesn't work because you're doing it all fucked up.
Yeah, and that's the, to be honest, and also one thing I'd like to add to that is, although if you are training at a correct BJJ facility, you do need to add strikes to your BJJ as well. If you're doing it for self-defense, if you're doing it for sport, fine, you're doing it for sport. But if you're doing it for self-defense, like Jay Bell said in his little beginning of the seminar he done with us geeks, you've got to have striking to it, because otherwise you'll be going, I'll set up a nice triangle. What the fuck? I've just been punched in the face.
Yep.
It's never happened to me in training before. How do I still put him in a triangle while he's punching me in the fucking face? And that's the one thing about that I've picked up, and I'm always thankful for from my MMA days, is I've been punched in the face that many times. I'm ugly enough as it is now, so I'm not going to bother doing that anymore. But I've been punched in the face enough to know that it fucking hurts, but to expect it. And I know in certain situations that I'm going to end up getting punched in the face. But in all fairness, I've got little legs, so I can't triangle people anyway. So,
has anybody taught you the big guy triangle?
Oh, I'll tell you, if I ever get my triangle on, the fucker ain't coming out of it ever.
Well, I'll tell you,
and he's out wherever his arm is, regardless, it's going on.
Well, I'll tell you what. The next time I'm around there, I'm going to show you the big guy triangle.
I need that.
It's going to blow your mind. You're going to be like, holy shit, I can do that? I showed it to a couple of my guys who are like, oh, I can't do a triangle because my legs don't do that. I'm like, I got you. Watch this shit.
See, I normally shoot for a triangle. Yeah. While they're defending, I then use that to roll, and I go into sort of weird hybrid multi triangle, suffocating with my sweaty ballsack.
Does it get a tap?
Sometimes.
Yeah, fuck it. It works then, right?
Teabagging them. Just because I'm teabagging them, that's all it is. See, at least with MMA, you wear a cup.
Yeah.
So you don't have to worry about the other guy's balls on your face. Or him trying to make you look like Gonzo out of Sesame Street or whatever it is.
I was going to say, fuck it. If it works, if it's wrong but it works, is it really wrong?
Well,
that's what I learned.
It's not a recognized technique, let's say.
Yeah, whatever. So.
Yeah, I enjoy BJJ though. It's a great sport. I've met some fantastic people with it. I would highly recommend people going to Globetrotter camps though.
Oh yeah, me too.
The level of instruction that they have there is absolutely fantastic. I'm still trying to convince my wife to let me go to another one this year.
Let me know, hey, if it's the Heidelberg one, let me know, because it is legitimately like 40 minutes away from me.
Yeah, I'm hoping for either Leuven or Heidelberg.
That would be badass.
Yeah.
So, Colin, before we finish up this episode, is there anybody you'd like to give a shout out to?
Just the rest of my team, Team ZR from Innovation MMA over in Eagles Cliff, Yarmway, fantastic group of guys, coached by Lee Kirtley. We've got our new black belt, as I mentioned earlier, Alan Pozo, who's an absolute fantastic black belt. And we've actually got a seminar running very, very soon. We actually completely forgot to talk about what I brought up the last part of the last one, didn't we?
What was that?
Transgender and BJJ.
Oh, God damn it. Yeah, that's. I tell you what. I'll keep this going for 5 minutes. What do you got to say? And we'll talk about it. If it goes for longer than that, that's okay. Because I promised you we would do this.
Well, it needs to be fucking sorted out, but it needs to be sorted out correctly. There is no way, due to bone structure, things like that, that a man, depending when it happens, it's got to be looked into and it's got to be assessed correctly. But there's no way a man who in his late 20s, early 30s, suddenly, well, maybe not suddenly, but decides, I'm going to do it, I want to go for gender reassignment. Okay, that person then starts having fuckloads of estrogen and shit like that to turn them into a female. They're still a fucking man. At the end of the day, their bodies don't know that they've suddenly changed. Their bone structure doesn't suddenly change to a female bone structure. Their muscle mass that they've built over the years doesn't suddenly just diminish because they've decided they're going to be a female. They are at a genetic advantage throughout. They should not be in a same category as a female. I would be fucking pissed if my wife got through to a final of a competition to go against a fucking man in the same category who then absolutely smashed her. Granted, don't get me wrong, if the technique is higher in the female, that she would win, that would happen. But you get two equally technical people against each other, the stronger person will win, and that will probably be the man due to the genetic makeup. You might get an absolute pussy of a man who will get smashed all over. Well, it's not great. It's not the way I would be happy for it to happen, but it shouldn't even be a question. They should actually just have a transgender division.
I do find that interesting because I remember I was witness to in the Army, in the U.S. Army, we do combatives tournaments, which is pretty much, if you are familiar with Army combatives, it is pretty much Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu curriculum. And they'll have competitions occasionally, and, it is kind of fun to watch because you'll get the occasional person who, they got their blue belts or they got their purple belts, and they just go against guys who've done a week of jiu-jitsu. Yeah. But that week of jiu-jitsu to them is turned them into like super badasses. I love it. I absolutely love it. So like you get the guy, yeah, I'm level 2 certified. I'm like, okay, let's roll then. Can we roll? Which is like, in all fairness to them, is the equivalent of doing 3 weeks of jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
So like it is kind of funny. But so we had a girl just beat the shit out of this one dude. She was a blue belt at our gym with us. And triangle choke the shit out of this guy. And, of course, like, oh, what the fuck? It was a girl, blah, blah, whatever. But now you're taking into consideration, like you said, a man who up until this point was like, okay, now I want to transition to a woman. Whatever you do, I truly do not give a fuck.
Yeah, exactly. Everyone for themselves. Like if you decide that you feel more comfortable as a female, fantastic. I actually have an older sister from, it was on my dad's side. Like my dad met somebody before, long before my mum had a daughter. That daughter is now a man. So I'm actually speaking from a family member who has actually transitioned from female to male. So I'm speaking from that position. I fully supported him in his decision. So I'm not I'm not saying this to be bigoted or or because I don't accept it or any of that sort of bullshit that someone may accuse me of at some point, probably. I, I'm solely mentioning it from a genetic standpoint. That person, from the age of whenever they started puberty, 12, 13, 14, through to the ages, well, through to the day they decided to go through the change and start gender reassignment, has had a steroid running through their system, testosterone. From the ages of 13, well, from when they start puberty up till about the age of 21, they've actually got steroids, a testosterone running through their system at higher dosage than most guys who use steroids take.
Yeah. Because they're like, hey, you need to be a man now. It's time to be a man.
Exactly. So if they are going to allow men to compete in the female category, they've got to allow women to be able to take testosterone.
And that...
to level it up.
I was going to say, to me, though, like, when you get to that point where you have... Yes, I'm all about fair play. If you're going to have, like... If you and me got in the ring right now, right, and I took a shitload of steroids, it would only be fair for you to take a shitload of steroids too.
Yeah.
Because it needs to be fair.
Yeah.
So now if we allow men who transition to females are now women, but have had the benefit of having 10 to 15 years of testosterone coursing through their veins, helping them build muscle mass, then it's okay for these women to take testosterone to get to that level.
Yeah.
But now you're saying, but I feel like that leads to such a really bad position of saying, like, well, then why can't guys take testosterone for their division?
Well, do you know what? This is actually moving on to a further point. Why not just say, rather than go, everybody's got to be tested. Testing's too expensive. They only test a very, very small portion of athletes. Even at the top competitions in the world, they only test a very, very small portion of athletes.
Yeah, and it takes like 2 years for them to get the results still.
Well, exactly. Why not just say, fuck it, we're in the business of making sure we've got the best athletes we could ever have. Just do what strongman does. Just ignore steroids. Strongman is untested unless you're in the specific drug testing federation, which ironically is actually full of guys that are on steroids. They just off cycle for when they get tested. It's fucking pathetic, by the way. They all claim to be natty, but they're not natty in any way, shape, or form. They've got fucking traps up here, like they got traps touching their fucking earlobes and shit like that, which is a big, massive boulder shoulder, which is two massive indicators of steroids. It's crazy. You get these guys in the natural division who claim to be natty. But Strongman has decided, you know what? We want our guys to be the strongest they could ever be. We want our guys to be able to perform at the highest level. We're going to completely ignore the whole fact of steroids. We're going to allow people to take steroids if they wish. But they just don't publicize it.
Yeah.
So, like, I had an athlete over at my place. I won't mention his name because obviously it might piss off his sponsors if they ever heard this. And he was very, like, between me and him, he was very open on his usage and what he took, what amounts he took, and things like that. There's other guys that are very, very open about it. They don't give a crap. They just turn around and tell everyone what they're on. And then you get the no, I'm natural guys who you know full well they're not natty, but they preach that they are because it makes them feel better about life. I don't know, some sort of pathetic shit like that. So why not? Same as in the Olympics with the IOC. They spend billions and billions. Well, they spend billions of dollars over a 4-year period through the qualification, testing people. Then 2 years later, I think if you look at it was one of the I can't remember what race it was, but it was a race before where the top 4 people in that race all got disqualified for drugs. So 5th place eventually got awarded gold.
Oh, fuck.
What sort of shit's that? Why not just say, fuck it, we're in the business of creating ultimate athletes. If you want to use steroids, go ahead and use them. We won't test anyone, but just don't make a massive song and dance about it. The public would be none the wiser. Why not do that within BJJ? Everyone's then on the level playing field. It then doesn't matter if you've got a guy who decides to transfer over to being a female, because the female could well be taking something herself. It creates a much more level playing field. Or if you're going to allow guys to transfer over, decide that like they're going to be female and they move to female category, why not just abolish fucking male and female classes?
Just go straight through, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, because you actually look at two guys, a guy and a girl, of equal weight, neither of them on any steroids. So you get a guy and a girl, both around about 60 kilo, of equal talents. Yes, okay, strength eventually will win, but it will be a very, very good match.
No, I do agree. I do agree with that, because you've seen videos of, like, if you look back to maybe like kids fighting too, because it's a combined division. That's before, whatever physiology takes hold of them. There's still some good matches. Yeah. I've seen some good matches between guys and girls of the same weight as well as their same skill level. Yeah. Just because they both are using skill. I mean, granted, there is going to be some strength in there, but, she's giving it right back to him because she's strong as shit too. Yeah. But when you start getting, like, massive differences, like me as an ultra heavyweight female versus a female who's, like, an ultra heavyweight female, there's a bit of a weight difference, I'd like to think.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, without a doubt, yeah.
And then, I mean, granted, I don't think I'd make a very good female, but...
but it's got long hair on you.
Yeah, that's true.
Little pigtails.
The problem is this face here. I do have to shave twice a day if I want to maintain a clean appearance. But I still, like you said, I benefit from the fact that I've been, I guess, going through puberty, so we'll say like between 12 and 14, up till like now. I still got testosterone coursing through my veins, so that's that's almost 20 years worth of testosterone in my system. Whereas if I got somebody, we'll say equal size, equal talent, we both started jiu-jitsu the exact same time, had the same, training, everything, milestones, whatever. Like you said, strength is going to win out eventually. So it would be unfair to make us compete against each other, unless we're letting her get juiced out of her mind as well.
Yeah. And the ironic thing of it is, if the transgender person who became a female, they would be under such scrutiny that whenever there was any drug testing, they would be tested. But whoever they were competing against probably wouldn't, which meant that person could actually think, do you know what, I'm in a division with transgender. I could probably get away with juicing because they're only going to, I don't know, what's IBJJF Worlds?
Yeah.
What do they test percentage-wise? It's probably less than 10% because it's so expensive.
Yeah, and at the same time, it takes them how long does it take them to actually get results for that?
Yeah, well, it's a very, very long, complex process, and the thing is most good coaches, if you know, I use the word good loosely. Most coaches who advise their clients to take steroids are one step ahead of the bodies like the IOC, WADA, people like that. They always are. If you look at, have you ever seen the documentary Icarus?
No, I haven't.
Watch it. It is fantastic. It is an absolutely brilliant watch. It was actually done by a guy called Ben Fogel, I think it was, who he was a cyclist. He's a journalist, but a cyclist. He competed in a race a few years ago. Decided he wanted to try it again, but wanted to see if he could beat the doping system. So when he made his big, massive documentary about it, and as it all panned out, he ended up getting put in contact with a Russian doctor who was going to help him through this process. And he was the head of the Russian doping agency who was going to help him. And it happens, this whole documentary took a massive twist halfway through as this whole big Russian doping scandal kicked off. And it ended up with the Russian doctor having to run for his life from Russia. It is well worth a watch. Give it a watch. It's fantastic.
Shit.
But it shows that the system can be beaten and how it gets beaten. And the top coaches in the world know how to beat the system. So to think that guys who go to Worlds for IBJJF and are not on anything, there's no way someone can train at the level and the intensity that they do and not be taking anything.
That is insanity. I'm definitely going to watch that. I've got some free time this week, and I will definitely watch that.
Definitely give it a watch. But yeah, there's absolutely no way in hell that guys could train the level they are and not be taking something. Your body will not be able to recover that well. People will probably no doubt contact you and call me a dickhead and say I'm full of shit because they've been doing it for years, their body's got used to it. Absolute bullshit. Not a chance.
Well, I think that is something interesting to talk about, and like I said, I definitely want to watch that and see what happens because I do find that type of stuff very interesting, especially like with the UFC with the USADA, and I've always found like the IBJJF doping testing to be it left a lot to be desired because I mean, like one of the first ones I ever heard about, I'm trying to remember his name, but pretty much he got tested, competed the next year at Worlds, and then after that Worlds was when it came out that he got busted for steroid use the year prior. Like that's well over a year. I mean, that takes forever, man. Like why did it take that long?
Well, it only takes that long because they low priority. So if you look at UFC, but the UFC they test people before a fight and post fight. And yet, when they test them beforehand, even if they fail, if they're a main event, they leave them and then pop them after it because they don't want to ruin the main event.
Yeah, very true.
Which is wrong. Unless you're named John Jones and then you get away with it.
Yeah, like 3 or 4 times, though, right?
Yeah. He's full of cocaine, but he's absolutely fine. He's allowed to fight.
Yeah.
But this young lad who's trying to make a name for himself. He's stupidly. In fact, there's actually a friend of mine, a guy called James Mulherron. He's actually currently banned by the UFC because of tainted supplements. He's currently trying to prove that it is tainted supplements. And I've known the guy for quite a while now. I've trained with him a few times. There is no way in hell that he's taken anything he shouldn't have. He worked his arse off to get to where he is. He'd been waiting for that call from the UFC for years and years. And he's such a nice guy. There's no way I would, in my heart, I believe he actually done anything wrong. It's absolute shitter, and they've dragged him over the coals for it. He's been banned for a year. And then you get arseholes like John Jones who takes cocaine and then goes and crashes into some fucking pregnant woman and does a runner with a load of money out the car. Like a fucking comedy scene. And yet the first time he comes back, they give him a title fight.
Of course, yeah.
And guess what? He fails the drugs test.
Of course. Yeah, it's so dirty, man.
So really, it's... I'm not a massive fan of Dana White in the UFC anyway. I said it in the last one. Dana White's a bit of a prick. But there we go.
I was gonna say it'll collapse at some point if he doesn't change his tune. It's gonna get worse.
Well, I think so. You look at organisations like ACB who are massively climbing up the ladder now. I'm really looking forward to seeing Alex anyway.
Me too. I'm very excited for that.
But yeah, it's like you see organisations like that. It just seem to be spawning up and they're gathering pace. You've got Bellator assigning some very, very good fighters now. They just need to stop putting on the fucking joke shows like Ken Shamrock and people like that. Nobody wants to see that shit.
No, not at all.
They need to focus on putting on fights like Rory McDonald's, the top guys that they've managed to get from the UFC because of all the shit that happened over there with, let's face it, the UFC lost Stitch. How can you lose your best cut man?
Yeah.
Because of a fucking kit deal with Reebok. Why not let the guy run his business, wear what he wants to wear? He's a cut man at the end of the day.
It's greed, man, and it was just, I don't know. I'm excited for that deal to go away because the fighters need that money, and they're getting fucked over because of it.
Oh, big time. Yeah, and let's face it, the kit's shit as well.
Yeah. They're pretty fucking terrible.
Yeah.
They're pretty garbage.
Yeah. Incoming lawsuit from Reebok.
Yeah, whatever, man. You know, they can have my $50 for this podcast. I don't give a shit. So, all right, back to what we had started before we went on our before we did our transgender discussion. Who do you want to give a shout out to, Callum?
Well, my wife, who's just walking past me, she's just finished putting the kids ready, getting the kids ready for bed. She's a good one. She's supported me for years. So even though she told me to keep away from people like Ian and I, she's a good one. No, she's absolutely fantastic. Like she also runs. She's one of the best coaches in my strength conditioning facility as well. But she's fantastic. I've got. I'd like to say a big shout out to my team over at Innovation MMA, part of Team ZR UK, and head coach Lee Kirtley. Unfortunately, one of our members is off to university very soon. A lovely young lad called Callum Bell. He's off to university soon. Fair play to him. Good luck to him. Best of luck to him. I hope he has a great time down in Sheffield, and carries on his BJJ journey. He's a blue belt under Lee. Yeah, good group of people. Pleasure to be around.
Nice. Very good. Well, Colin, I really do appreciate you taking the time out of your night to talk with me about all sorts of wild shit on the on our podcast.
Anytime. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Excellent. So, ladies and gentlemen, this has been another episode of the Big Jiu-Jitsu Show. Remember the Pod Bros Podcast Network. Don't forget to go to podbros.com and find yourself another podcast you want to listen to. And don't forget to visit our sponsors, Trap and Roll Soap Company, as well as Tape Armor. Find all of our old shows at bjjshow.com. I'm Rob. I'll catch you guys next time.